Those were the days, weren't they, Seth?
Oh my gosh, such good times. I miss it.
I know. Hey, everybody, it's David Gordon from TheaterMania here. It is Thursday, August 20th. I'm here with my great friend, former coworker, Seth Walters.
Hello.
Broadway red carpet veteran for many, many years with me. Seth relocated to his home state of Iowa in March. And I don't know how many people have heard about the situation that's going on in Iowa now. I didn't know about it until Seth told me about it, and I just wanted to take today to bring awareness to it because I feel like the news is completely not reporting it at all. So, Seth, what happened in Cedar Rapids last week, 2 weeks ago?
No, a week ago on Monday. So about 1 o'clock on Monday a week ago, we had this storm come through that lasted like an hour, and it was literally like a hurricane. 100-mile-an-hour straight winds, just completely barreled through half the state. My town, Cedar Rapids, and surrounding towns were without power for, a lot of people still don't have power. Trees are down everywhere. Power lines are down everywhere. Homes are destroyed. Barns blown over. Silos. I wrote this down. We had 10 million acres of crops were destroyed. That's
crazy.
43%. 43% of all the crops in Iowa destroyed.
That's insane. That's insane to think about.
Yeah.
Was there warning that this was going to happen? Was it on the weather report that beware of this?
Well, there was like maybe an hour's notice for people that like watch the Weather Channel daily or like listen to weather reports. Like on my weather app, it said there's a 50% chance of rain from 1 to 3 o'clock. That was it. I was working outside that morning, and I had put my stuff in the garage knowing it was going to rain. And I was actually on my way to a hardware store to get some tools when this storm hit. You could hear the tornado sirens going as I left. And in Iowa, we're like, okay, yeah, tornadoes, whatever. I've never actually seen one in person, but nobody really cares. And so I kept driving, and I was with my brother. And then all of a sudden, the left side of the sky was blue. The right side of the sky was black.
Ooh.
And it was coming right towards us. And so it started raining, and I'm like, oh, because we just got to the store. I was like, oh, let's run inside and quick grab it, and like we'll be fine. Like we'll get a little wet.
Yeah.
And then it started just hitting like crazy. You couldn't see 10 feet in front of you on the road. We parked in a parking lot right next to this big strip mall.
Oh, so you already got home. You were literally riding this out in your car.
I was outside, yeah, in my car, and just parked by this building on the opposite side of the wind. So, but even then, like my truck was still shaking, and like parts of my truck were blown off. We were watching trees get ripped apart right in front of us. Signs and shopping carts were being blown all over the parking lot. An RV pulled in. We could see the RV pull in, and then like we lost visibility. And when the storm died down, the RV was flipped on its side.
Holy crap.
It was, and it went on for an hour. We just sat there. I was praying the whole time, like, Jesus, protect us.
I was going to say, what goes through your head?
It was scary.
Like, what goes through your head while you're sitting there in the middle of this?
Just like, I hope this truck doesn't get blown over.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't even thinking about what was happening all throughout the city. And then we tried to drive home, and it was a puzzle trying to find a road that didn't have trees or power lines down on the road.
How did it affect your family?
Well, the house I live in only had some trees knocked over, some shingles were blown off. But my brother, who lives in Marion, had a big tree fall on his house. Really damaged his garage, totaled his car, and the wind blew off part of his roof. Just a whole section of the roof was blown off. Water was coming in, and then we lost power. I mean, everybody in town lost power. It's still today. They reported 16,000 people are still without power.
Still over a week later, almost 2 weeks later.
Yeah, I only got internet back yesterday. We were without internet, and also like cell phone service for the first week was just non-existent. You couldn't, with all this damage and like people's properties destroyed, and like there are a few deaths. There wasn't a lot of deaths, thankfully. I think I'd heard only 4 deaths. But people just couldn't call their family to make sure they're okay.
Right.
And that went on for days. Like I couldn't even like send a picture of the damage to my dad. I was driving by a church that my dad and my mom met in, and the church was completely blown over. The roof completely blown off, and then the walls got blown out. I couldn't even send that picture. I couldn't even like text my brother to see if he was home, if he was okay. My other brother didn't have really any damage. They had a tree fall over in their driveway. They couldn't get the car out to go help anybody until the tree was down. But like, that's the thing, like people who like are in my position who weren't affected as badly have been, helping their neighbors, and like the effort to clean up and rebuild has been just insane. And this city has been through disasters like this before. We've had a couple really bad floods, and every time, the community steps up and just helps their neighbor. And I mean, it's insane. I read today that, what was it? In the last 10 days, 3,000 power poles have been reinstalled, and 1,200 miles of power wiring have been installed just in 10 days. That would normally take 10 months to do.
It's like that song from Bridges in Madison County.
Yeah. I know it ain't easy. Right. This is a long road.
Right. It's a theater show. Yeah, I was going to ask you what it's like. Like, is everybody banding together to help?
Oh, yeah. It's been insane. I mean, I've been helping out my family because my brother had 6 kids on top of a tree on his house. So I was babysitting and cutting up the tree. Luckily, my brother works for a tree service.
I was going to say, how do you get the tree off the roof?
He's been, well, yeah, his boss pulled in with a boom truck and just pulled it off and set it to the side. And they've been so busy because there's not a single property in town that doesn't have a tree down. We're going to be busy for a while.
Are stores like that able to reopen and everything?
Yeah, the stores that have power are back up. Internet is still down in a lot of the city. I went to a store yesterday, and they didn't have internet, so they had to like write down paper receipts for credit cards, like in the old days.
I was going to say, I didn't think you sent me that article yesterday. The Cedar Rapids is worse than you know article. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really hit me until I read that like if you don't have internet, you can't process credit cards.
No. I mean, you'd be amazed at just how much requires power, internet. I mean, when you think about your power being out for 10 days, if you don't have a generator, your food is spoiled.
Right.
You can't, we have a well that is powered. So we didn't even have water until the power came back. So we had cases of bottled water, and I had to go to my brother's to take a shower, and yeah, it's pretty messed up.
How many people are displaced?
I don't know how many, but it's a lot. It's I've seen pictures of, full apartment complexes with the walls torn down, the roof blown off. All those people, I think they set up a tent city, and I think some hotels are opening their rooms for people. But it's still a lot of people without shelter.
What would be the best thing for people to do to donate now? I guess the Red Cross is around helping.
The American Red Cross is helping. Salvation Army is helping. There's an organization called Samaritan's Purse that is in town helping. And then there's a local nonprofit that helps in Iowa disaster relief called Matthew 25. They're all in town helping out. There's a lot of restaurants who are just donating food. So if you want to help, if you're nearby, just come into town and put boots on the ground and help remove trees safely. I think a neighbor of mine had a chainsaw accident yesterday. There were 4 fire trucks and an ambulance across the street.
So only equipment if you know how to use it.
Yes. But yeah, people need their homes rebuilt. People need their businesses rebuilt. People need the trees cleaned up. People need food, water.
And we're not hearing about this anywhere.
I've been seeing it a little more in the news, but it took a good week for people to start paying attention.
Yeah.
There were at least 4 days went by before any national source covered it.
That's crazy considering the scale of the disaster.
Yeah. What I think affected that is, one, it's a storm that nobody's ever heard of, really. Have you ever heard of a Derecho before this?
No, I described it as a land hurricane.
Yeah, it's an inland hurricane. That's what it was. The thing is, it lasts way longer than a hurricane. I think the other thing is, there weren't many deaths, so people weren't concerned. And also, we're a small town. I mean, and it's in Iowa. It's who cares about Iowa until election season?
Right. But it seems like it's brought out the best of the community. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And this community is, it's sad to say, but we're used to it.
Right.
There was a big flood in 2008 and then another one in 2016 that just wiped out half of downtown Cedar Rapids. And so we're used to this. But the thing is now, this is just this is citywide.
Right.
Every person is affected. There's not a single person that hasn't been affected by this.
I'm glad you guys are okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I know. It's the silliest thing to say. It's but I'm so glad you guys are okay.
Yeah.
It's not a silly thing to say at all. I don't know what anyway. Seth, thank you for talking to me about this.
Yeah.
And is there anything I missed that you wanted to touch on?
I read my notes. There were $4 billion worth of damage has been done.
Billion.
$4 billion.
The crop alone.
That's property damage and crop damage.
Yeah. And that's the crops, and I guess what you don't think about when it comes to crops is like the growing season is only so long.
Yeah.
And if you're wiped out, you can't get started until next year.
It's been weird. We haven't had any rain in the past 2 weeks, and then this storm was the only rain we had for 2 weeks, and now it hasn't rained since. Thank God it hasn't rained because people's roofs are missing. But what was one thing that was really cool is because the power was out across the whole city, there was no light pollution. So at night, clear skies, no clouds, you could see literally every single star in the universe. Like in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
You could see the Milky Way. It was gorgeous. It was just like the silver lining, I guess. But
and that's the sort of thing that makes you realize how small you are in comparison to everything.
The only thing was like you couldn't really enjoy it that much because the sound of chainsaws, generators are blaring in the distance. But yeah. And it's been a blessing that like the weather has been so nice afterwards, so people can get outside and help.
I was gonna say it must not be too hot for everybody to.
The first week it was pretty hot, but this week has been like really nice weather. So I mean, I don't know if you can hear the chainsaw in the background here, but yeah, everywhere you go, people are cutting up the trees. There's a field by my house that has probably the size of 2 football fields where people are dumping their debris, and it's just completely filled. And I doubt that's even scratching the surface of everything that's got to get cleaned up.
It's going to take a lot to rebuild, I guess.
It will, but there's this hashtag Iowa Strong that comes into play because we've seen some stuff, but in tough times we come together, and it's been nice to see the community come together. We're not concerned about our differences, and we're just helping our neighbors. So
no, it ain't easy. It's a long road. Seth, thanks for coming.
Oh gosh, thanks for having me, Dave. It's good to see you.
You too. My pleasure. Stay on after we go live. I'll say goodbye to you.
Okay.
All right, and thanks everybody for watching. And look up the Red Cross Salvation Army. What are the other charities again that you said?
Samaritan's Purse and Matthew 25. Their website is hub25.org.
Look it up. Help our neighbors in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Be well.
Bye.